All right. So we are on to the last topic here. This one might be another lengthy one. So we're going to talk about the Amanda Seales interview she did with Shannon Sharp. This is another interview that I saw that I felt the need to speak about. Another Shannon Sharp interview, I should just say, that I saw, and I felt the need to speak about. We've talked about Amanda Seales on here before. Um, She is not liked by me. She did not make it better via this interview, but I will say I went into this interview. I've watched it multiple times. My first initial watch was to just watch the interview. The other times were so I could take the extensive notes that I have here. I know this is just 2 pages. Page one, page two. That's not it, by the way. And I'm looking and I'm directing that to the uh video watchers, the audio listeners. Of course, you can hear the pages flip, but you can't see the amount of pages. That's why I'm counting out loud for y'all. But there's about two and a half, okay? 2.5 pages. No, actually, that's notes for something else. So 2 pages. Nonetheless, 2 full pages as you saw of straight up notes. This is my notebook, by the way. So there's multiple notes of just everything that I keep in this notebook. But these 2 pages are dedicated to my thoughts on this very topic here. Um, as I was stating before, I when I initially watched this, I went into it with the knowing that I don't like Amanda Seales at all, for the very reasons that I'm going to name here, the same very reasons that I've named in the past as to why I don't like her, and others don't like her as well. It's not just me. But I was proud of myself to have watched the interview for the first time again, giving her the benefit of the doubt, but also maybe part of it was because I thought she was actually someone with autism when she isn't actually someone with autism, or at least not clinically diagnosed someone with autism. I'll get into all of that. Trust me, I will. If you've seen the interview, you know why I'm referencing that. But if you haven't and you're just hearing about it for the first time, I will get into that. But I did have that amount of it wasn't an excuse. And again, I'll get into all of that. It wasn't like I was making excuses for her, but I was just like, well, that kind of explains her behavior in a way, just a bit for her. Not everyone with ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder. Okay. For those who don't know. But after that, after my initial viewing, well, it was, yeah, after my initial viewing and seeing her behavior afterwards and finding out she doesn't necessarily have autism. Spoiler alert, she's not autistic. For those who didn't watch the interview, for those who did watch the interview, who I didn't go into my detail yet, but spoiler alert, she doesn't really have autism. We'll get into all of that, like I said. But you know, I was like, this woman she's terrible. She's just as terrible, probably even worse for lying about having autism. But she's just as terrible, let's just put it that way, as I and others thought she was, you know? And it's a shame because she is someone that I don't want to, like, this is not someone I want to pick on, simply for the fact of the matter is she has some very relatable and redeemable qualities and traits about her, but she doesn't understand or seem to want to understand that um even those traits are not enough for her to be the way that she is, you know? Let's get right into the interview. I just want to give myself again a shout out for being able to at least initially give her the benefit of the doubt, and I was willing to hear her out despite me not liking her at all. you know um a lot of people, I didn't go in again, I went into the interview knowing I didn't like her, but I did not want that to be my initial feelings throughout the interview. I actually viewed that interview, and I don't know how I was able to do this, to be honest with you. It's probably just growth, but I viewed that interview as someone who, or at least in my lenses, I think I viewed that interview as someone who's never known Amanda Seals ever. Never met her. I've never met her, period, but never met her or never knew known about her, period. And just went into it with I guess a blank slate of how she is. And if you're that type of individual and you saw this and this is your introduction to Amanda Seals, she does a phenomenal job at painting herself out to be the victim. She does a phenomenal job at fooling people, sociopathic ways, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, though, I do want to start with, because there were certain moments in this interview where, again, sure, Amanda Seals wasn't the best person, as she, you know, isn't the best person at all. But Shannon Sharp showed his ass in this interview as well. I want to address that first before I address every single thing else, because I think that people are, um, not everybody, but I think that if I start with, I guess, the pros, I guess, of this interview, and when I say the pros, I mean the stuff that wasn't Amanda Seals's fault, to be honest with you. If I start with the stuff that make her look good or whatever the case is, then I don't know. That's just how I have it here. Um, but Shannon Sharp was definitely standoffish during this interview. Now, granted, there were moments to where he, you can tell he was like, I'm tired. You're sitting here and you're wasting my time, 3 hours of my time. This is another 3 hour interview, and you're kind of bullshitting my time. And I'm getting frustrated, but I have to try to save face or keep cool because I obviously can't go off on you the way that I probably would have if these cameras weren't rolling and you're wasting 3 hours of my time. So I get that. But there were other moments as well where dude was legitimately just being difficult because he probably couldn't put aside his personal feelings about Amanda Seals, or, things that he may have heard others say about her. There were people who straight up disliked Amanda simply because of what other people said. Even on that video, there's a comment that I read. I don't remember dude's name or this person's name, but their comment was like, I'm not gonna lie, I went into this interview hating Amanda Seals because based off of what other people said, and that actually, getting to know her, and then now my mind has shifted from pretty much being one of her biggest haters to one of her biggest lovers. People can feel however they want to feel about folk, but I think he just went from one extreme to another, if you ask me. But and Shannon might be someone like that, to where he probably hasn't had any experiences with her to know, to make a, actual decision about how he feels about her personally. But also, he may have been just like me, seeing how she's been behaving over the years, and said, this is not someone that I really would like to, vibe with, whatever. I don't know who reached out to who. I think she reached out to him and wanted to pretty much detail her story and stuff because she's got a book coming out, I believe. Pretty much, more woe is me, if you ask me. Um, More everybody hates me, everybody hates Amanda, and did y'all hear that? Anyways, more of that, and that's if you ask me. But again, like I said, there are moments where Shannon still, there was a bit of professionalism that he lacked on his end. One in particular, and again, looking at my notes, one in particular is the aspect of the racist child, right, versus the mean child. I'm gonna read what I have here first, and then I'll go into further explanation. Although I think what I have here is pretty clear, but I'll further explain. Can a child be mean and not racist? Yes. Can a child be mean and racist? Yes. Can a child be racist but not mean? No. Now, I will go into further explanation. Some of y'all, again, that was clear as day for y'all. Great. But I still feel the need to go into further explanation as to what I mean by that. So there was a portion within this interview where not Shannon, but Amanda, that's what happens when there's two girl names. I'm sorry. It's a joke. But the Amanda goes into detail about a situation that happened at one of the schools. I believe she was in elementary school at this time, where she said that the kids, white kids, called her the N-word. And she is pretty much saying to Shannon, listen, this was a racist school that I went to. And Shannon was like, how is it racist? It's not racist. It was just kids being mean, right? Kids do say things when they want to be mean. But I can tell you that you can be mean and not use racist terms like the N word or some other racist term to bully a kid. I speak from experience of the individual who was getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? The one who didn't hear the N word from the bully, right? Because the bully wasn't racist, but the bully was still a mean kid, you know? I don't think I didn't experience racist bullies, honestly, up until the internet era. I think I've said this before. Um, I personally didn't grow up being called the N word, whether it was hard or ER, by any of the white kids that I grew up with. And it wasn't many, but any of the white kids or whatever. Now, there was this Asian kid in middle school, in which it was brought to my attention by one of the Asian kids that I was friends with, who had made a racist remark about my nose or just me being black in general. And he used the term that they use in their culture to describe black people in a racist term. I forget what that word is, but that was, I guess, my first time being called the N word. And it was from an Asian kid. And it wasn't necessarily the N word, it was their version of the N word. And again, this kid didn't say it to my face, or at least we were all doing a group project. It was me and this Asian kid. Shout out to An. His name was An, right? um on being the friend, right? It was me, on, and the other Asian kids, right? We were doing a group project. I was every time there was like group up with somebody, it was me and on. But then we couldn't just be us two. So he was like, let's go over here to the other Asian kids. I figured since he's cool with them, they would be cool with me. Soon as we sit down, one of the other Asian kids ends up making a comment, and he said that word, and then all of them except for On started laughing. I was like, I don't know if this is about me or On, because On's not laughing. I didn't laugh because I don't know what was said, but I'm like, something is off here. You know what I'm saying? On's not laughing, so it probably was about him. I'm thinking it was a comment about him. Later on, again, On shared to me, nah, he said this word and this is what this word means about you. And then later on, he was saying things about your nose and your hair and all this other stuff, right? Let me take a sip. Again, this is middle school. This was sixth grade, right? That's an example of a kid being mean and racist, right? There have been times, whether it was middle school, elementary school, high school, whatever it was, right? Where someone said something again mean to me, but not racist. And that individual wasn't racist at all. They were just a mean individual. So Shannon Sharp does have a point where he's like, are just mean in general. Not in general. Not every kid is mean. That's number one, because generalization kids would mean that they're all mean. When it'll also mean that every kid is racist, which clearly that's not the case. But what he was saying was kids can be mean, and that is absolutely true. They can be mean. But what Amanda was saying, and this is one of the very few moments in this interview where she is absolutely right, where I was on her side, where she was like, this wasn't just a kid being mean, this was a kid being racist. This wasn't a situation to where the kid said, you got ugly shoes, right? She didn't say this in her interview. I'm saying this. This wasn't a situation like that where a kid is making fun of, how she is dressed. They literally targeted her skin tone, as light bright as she is, but no, they literally targeted her skin tone and called her that word associated with black folks, whether there's, you know, light as her or dark as me or light as me and darker as someone else, literally a word targeted toward black folks. And that was the word being used to her. That's racist. Whether that kid heard it from their parent or whether that kid, didn't know what the meaning of it, but again, they heard it somewhere else. They knew that if I see a black person, I'm going to use that word. And even if they go around saying, because I've seen kids do this as well, I've seen kids go around calling everybody the N word, not just the black students. They still know the contents of that word, or at least understand enough to try to be the edge lord and stuff, right? Now, when I experienced this or saw this happen, this was more so happening when I was an educator, not a student at the time, right? So when I was teaching middle school, working with middle schoolers and stuff like that. But this is the stuff that I've seen. And still, I was like, that's racist. Like, yeah, I don't care how edgy you think you're trying to be, it's racist. It's obviously mean, but it's racist as well. And it goes to my point of, can a kid be racist but not mean? And also go to the point is, can a kid be mean and racist? The answer is yes for the can a kid be mean and racist? Yeah, but can a kid be racist does not mean no. Racism in its own is mean. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the need to expound on that, but you can try to be the nicest person, but behind closed doors, it's like you're doing things to make sure that these black people or this group of individuals you don't want to succeed, to get ahead in life. You're doing things behind closed doors to make sure that they don't. Whether you do it with a smile on your face or with a frown on your face or with a scowl in your eye, right? Or with a twinkle in your eye, that's still me, you know? So that's why I had to add that you can be racist, but it can't they add that question, can you be racist but not mean? And the answer to that is no. So the only yes here is, can a kid be mean and not racist? Yes. I've dealt with that. I grew up, like I said, first time I've ever been called an N-word from like someone else was online. Literally when I was like a teen doing YouTube videos and people wanted to disregard things that I said because I would talk about social issues and this, that, and the third, especially around the verdict of Trayvon Martin. This was around the time I was just getting out of high school, by the way. And yeah, I made content surrounding that. And obviously, people felt so emboldened that, Zimmerman got off. So they felt the need that they could just go around harming black folks verbally, at least online, and probably try to get away with it physically. But that's what it was. And it was like, that was like around my first instances, again, to my face at least, or blatantly, as in like directed toward me. I'm pretty sure I've been called the N-word plenty of times as a kid, as a teen. I wasn't brought aware to it. Again, the one instance being the Asian kid who called me the N word in their language, you know? Um, so yeah, you know, um, just to say, like, Shannon, if you really are trying to, it's not a good look for you, especially you being, you know, a black man, black Southern man, and all that stuff. It doesn't make you look like um intelligent, for lack of better wording, when you're sitting here trying to tell a black woman that racism pretty much doesn't exist, or it was just a kid being mean. And that wasn't the case. If it was, again, a kid making fun of her clothes, making fun of her voice, even, she said she danced. If a kid made fun of the way she danced, these are examples of kids being mean without kids being without them being racist. But to go straight to the N word, I don't care if that was the first or third insult that they said to her. To use that word to go straight to that as an insult in general, that's racism right there. So again, I wanted to point that out as far as some of the things that she mentioned, and that some of the times where I was on her side, I was with her 100% on that. There's probably more examples that I didn't note down, but that was one of the more the bigger notable ones as well. Um, Another part where I almost sided with her was, I have it written here as well. I'll read it and then go into full depth, like I said. It is very possible that people dislike her because of what they lack within themselves, or because of her mouth. But that is not always the case. And what I mean by because of her mouth, because of she's very outspoken. As someone who is very outspoken, I know that there are people who dislike that. Simple as that, who dislike me because of that. It's very possible that is the case with Amanda Seales. In fact, even with every reason she makes it so easy for people not to like her, I still believe there's a number of people whose bigger problem with her isn't her attitude, which is a big problem, isn't the fact that she doesn't take accountability for anything at all, isn't because she is a bold-faced liar, a sociopath even. It's because she's outspoken. There's some people that's gonna are willing to look past all of those flaws that I named as to why one would justifiably dislike Amanda Seales and then go straight to, I don't like the fact that she states her opinions the way that she does, or does it in general. I don't like that. I don't like that she's over opinionated, or she's opinionated, right? Um, and that's weird. That's a weird reason to dislike someone. And like I said, um, they dislike her because of what they lack within themselves. That's a possibility as well. Let's not act like because it's Amanda Seales that what she brought to the table, or what she brought to attention with this interview, as far as people's disliking of her, or possible disliking of her, that it does, like, some of the things that she, not everything she said is a lie, is what I'm trying to say here. That was some of the truths that she named, or that she brought up within this interview. I again can I identify with that. The one thing, and I'm kind of getting sideswiped here, but it's not really. But the one thing that's most frustrating about Amanda Seales is, um, I see a lot of myself in her, but it's a lot of the it's some of the good stuff, like again being very outspoken, being able to articulate yourself, being able to express yourself, and all this other stuff. But then there's the other stuff that I personally, I'm even still working on it, but I was way worse, way worse. She's way worse than me, but I was like, I've had these issues in the past, and these are things that I've noticed about myself. The lack of accountability. It's everybody but me. You know what I'm saying? Now it's bad because when you're truly someone who goes through things, you know what I'm saying? And you're someone with that problem of it's everybody but me, it gets hard to defend you because, or for people to defend you, because then it looks like you're just blaming everybody for whatever issues you have. But again, speaking from experience, I can tell you that this is one of those things where two things can be very true. But oftentimes, one of those things is more true than the other. For me personally, again, in the past, it was more so. Now, I think this is what it applies to Amanda right now. It was more so a her problem than a them problem. But it doesn't mean that it was never a them problem at all. It was probably a 70-30. 70 her, 30 them. But that's a loud 30, and it's unfair to still say because it's 30 that it doesn't matter, that we should all place 100% of these situations on her. No, it's still 70-30. Now, however you want to slice it, it can go down to 60-40, 60 her, 40 them, but it's still unfair to say because that 60% is larger than that 40, then we should place 100% of the blame on her. No, that's not how it is. How she's going to get better, though, is if she acknowledges the 60, the 70, that is her, and then say, okay, I want to work on this. But working on it doesn't mean taking 100% of the blame once again, or even not addressing the 30 or 40% of them. You know, you can do both. And for her to be 42 years old and still not recognize that, that's very alarming. It's very alarming for someone. And it's after watching this, I'll say that at the end. But like I said, it did not make me view her worse. But I still don't like her. I still don't like her. Um, I still take issues with her. I have a lot of issues, but like I said, those were the only like 2 points that she made. That I felt like I was happy that she brought, like someone like her, or at least someone on a with a platform that she has, or at least the fame that she has, was able to recognize that, because you have a lot of people who truly think that it's far-fetched for folks to just dislike you because they dislike themselves, or dislike you because they are jealous of you for, or envious of you for whatever reasons. you know um I got that a lot from siblings. I got that a lot from people in general. When they found out that I did this podcast, or I was just like a very opinionated person, people started to then switch up, how they felt or feel away, because I simply just don't hold back my thoughts. You don't gotta like the thoughts. You don't gotta like, yeah, you don't have to like the thoughts. You don't have to be someone that's, feels like you're brave enough to even share your thoughts. But to then hate somebody or have some type of negative feelings towards somebody simply because they themselves aren't capable of sharing their thoughts and they want to do so freely, that's whack to me. That's not hurting you at the end of the day. In fact, you should be inspired by that. And then there's the other terrible reason to dislike somebody, as I've stated before, because you see something in them that you don't see within yourself. she talked about a lot about how she was in situations, especially with Floetry, where she had to shrink herself in order for other people to not feel threatened by her presence. That is very much real. I didn't have that in my notes, but that came to mind. And since I'm already talking about it, I'm going to further expound on that. That is very real. That stuff does happen. Again, simply because you don't experience it yourself, simply because you might not want to accept that to be the truth, does not mean that it doesn't happen. There are situations where people, and again, I'm speaking from experience. This is why I say it's a shame that her and I, or at least she probably don't even know who I am. I don't know. Um, but I've never had an interaction with her. But it's a shame that I don't personally like this woman because I feel as though had she understand her flaws and was able to fix them, we could get along. Like honestly, like she is very relatable in the sense that a lot of the situations she's been through, I can relate to on a very personal level. But I'm just because I can do that doesn't mean I'm going to excuse her the things that I really dislike about her, you know? I'll give her grace where I believe she needs the grace or deserves the grace. And then the other aspects of it is you don't deserve grace in this because you're a fucking liar. To put it fucking bluntly. But she did bring up again, she brought up how there were moments in her life where she had to shrink herself in order for other people so she could work with other people, be at peace with other people. And no one should have to do that. No one should have to, you know, shrink themselves again because someone else is threatened by them for whatever reasons that they have. Mainly that reason is they see something within you or that other person that they wish was in them, and instead again of being inspired and trying to be comfortable and learn from that individual and say, how can I get to this level? Instead of doing that, they want you to shrink to their level or even lower. They want you, it's oftentimes it's lower, not even just their level, but they want you to shrink lower so they can feel higher about themselves. That stuff does happen. She brought that up. I was so glad to hear and see that she brought that up because, again, despite whether I like her or not, people other than myself, I love when people other than myself in general, famous or not, but especially if they are famous like her, um, bring these things up because it doesn't make me seem like, oh, just a madman online, even though people still can probably say that. But also, like, especially if they're famous like her, it's like you have a platform, you have more eyes on you. This interview has several hundred thousands of views. I believe it was like 600 and something thousand, 670,000 views by the time I at least was watching it and stuff. So like under a million views, but still like that's a lot of people. 670,000 people don't listen to this podcast on a weekly basis. So that's a lot of people to me. So yeah. With that being said, um, yeah, it was I was glad that she brought that up. Glad that that was, you know, um, brought up by her in this interview. Um, but it doesn't absolve everything else because all the rest of my notes that I have are my issues with her. Okay, let's get right into it. Around the 3 minute and 51 second mark, she claims she was diagnosed. These are the words that you use diagnosed with autism, but later reveals that she wasn't technically diagnosed with it. Or when I say technically in quotation marks, I mean she was not clinically diagnosed. She later went on because she's ever since that interview, she's been on IG Lives, have been on other people's platforms talking about being a woe is me and stuff. She claimed Shannon Sharp backed her into a corner and made her feel like she had to say she was clinically diagnosed. I can tell y'all that right now. I can tell y'all right now, someone who's watched the interview multiple times since it dropped. That is not what Shannon Sharp did. I told you the wrong what Shannon was doing. He was at times being very standoffish. He was at times it seemed a little bit condescending, but he was not pushy. He was not, where are you technically, where are you clinically? Nah, he was not pushing her to admit to that. He asked her straight up, how old were you when you got diagnosed? And then he asked her to explain what autism is because he said himself, it's a term I've heard many a times, but I don't quite know what it is. So could you explain to me and the people who might be in the same boat, what is autism and how old were you when you were diagnosed? She reveals, oh, I was 42 when I was just recently diagnosed. So, and she's 42 years old. So she was like, I'm 42. So 42 and some change, right? However many days, right? Um, so she's like, I was recently diagnosed. You have to get clinically, these are the words she said, you have to get clinically tested, which is true for this. And therefore, your diagnosis comes from a clinician, someone within the field who is testing you for autism. She was the one who made it. And again, y'all think I'm lying. You can go find the interview yourself. I'm not going to link it in the description box below. It's on YouTube. You can go find it yourself and listen to it yourself. She herself was the one who stated that she was diagnosed, clinically diagnosed with it. Then later revealed via her own fruition on other people's platforms that she's not she's self-diagnosed. On her own TikTok she's stated that she's self-diagnosed as being autistic. Meanwhile, she is not in this field. She doesn't have the wherewithal, the anything. She's just as oblivious as diagnosing anybody with autism as me. Her degree that she got is a master's in African American studies or something like that. Like something to do with race, not disorders, mental disorders and mental health, psychology in general, none of that. But she's got her master's in race. I'm going to say African American studies, but I think it's something like on the lines of that. I forget the term per se, but it was in that realm. So I'm gonna use that title of in that realm, but she's got her master's in that. That's not what you to be in this field, this doctorate field. First of all, she needed a doctorate to be in a doctorate field to be able to test for ASD, not a master's, but a doctorate, but also a master's in African American studies or something similar to that is not the qualifications one would have just alone. She could be like, I got my doctorate in psychology and my master's in African American studies. Okay, but the master's will not be the reason as to why you are able to run these tests. And even medical professionals who actually have doctorates in their field, they don't run tests on themselves. Medical professionals will tell you you need to get second or at least third opinions on diagnoses of anything, especially before going to the extreme of stuff like surgery or taking medication to treat something, even though you don't take medication to treat ASD, it's not treatable at all. Um, but things of that nature, these things take second to third opinions. She believes her one uneducated guess means more than the second and third or even fourth opinion of actual doctors who test for this. This is the type of woman that she is. This is the type of person that she is. That alone, I don't know how anyone can say to somebody, well, I don't know why people dislike her. She seemed very likable. She's very funny. She's very pretty. Okay. Very gorgeous woman. Ben said that. Gorgeous woman. We are not going to do this thing where we allow women or just allow good looking people to get away with being terrible because they have a great exterior. Okay, we're not doing that. We're not going to allow Amanda get away with that. She herself did not let people get away because they looked great on the outside. So we're not gonna give her that. She detailed stories about some good looking people doing her wrong, and yet we're supposed to forget her wrongdoings because she's a good looking woman. I don't give a damn. I bring that up because I've seen comments like that. I don't know why people like her, dislike her so much. She seems she's funny, she's pretty, she's funny because she's an actress. Actresses can be funny. Okay? That doesn't excuse her wrongdoing. Yeah, gorgeous woman. Still not excusing her shit. You can do that simp ass shit. I ain't gonna do it. But she has no qualifications to test for autism. But throughout this entire interview and what she's doing right now, she's making herself the face of autism, and it's not right. It is not right at all. It's not right because she hasn't been clinically tested. She could go on about the price and all this other shit, but you haven't been clinically tested at all. In fact, she can afford the money. I have numbers. I have numbers. I'm kind of jumping around on my points, but I kind of am. I'll leave that for the later point, but I do have the actual numbers. As someone that works in the field or worked in the field, with autistic beings, helping them out. And this is why I'm very passionate about it, by the way, about her claiming to have autism, because I work in the field with autistic students, autistic people, ranging from the ages of 2 years old to 25 years old. I know what it looks like. It looks different from everybody, but I know the stats and I know all the shit. This is not just some person that when Shannon Sharp asked about it, I was not asking about it. I know what autism is. She knows what autism is because of the research she's done, at least about the definition of it, but she doesn't really know much because autism is not something you can fucking self-diagnose and say I have it. You can say you can look at certain behaviors of people. You can look at certain things within your life and match it up and say, maybe I should get tested for this and see if you have some level of it or whatever the case is. You can do that. But to then fall back and self diagnose, I absolutely have a problem with that. Even if I did not work with autistic kids and adults as I did in the past, I still would have a problem with her self-diagnosing this way and then pretending to be this face of autism and leading on these parents who are hitting her up and thinking that, this is someone that they can look to as an inspiration for their child. We don't need any more people growing up like Amanda Seals. I don't care how harsh that sounds. We don't need any more Amanda Sealses out here. Now, this woman is fucking wild. And I'm going to use the language that I use here because it's warranted. This woman is fucking wild. And we're not talking party girl out, hey. No, we talking like this girl, she's got some disorders. Autism is not one. She's got some serious personality disorders. Now, I am again, my 2 years of psychology is just that 2 years of psychology, right? But with that being said, she definitely has some disorders that were gone untreated or, untested, untreated. But this woman is like I said, the disorder she has is she's got some personality disorders. It's not autism. Sociopathic and narcissistic. Those are the two that I'm attaching to her. My non-clinical explanation, or at least attachment. She can diagnose herself. Fuck it. We all can diagnose everybody then. Fuck it. I'm saying what my 2 years of psychology is she's got NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. That's just me. Anyways, let me show you some more numbers, okay? Because she kept doing this thing where she wanted to separate. She's been doing this, but she wanted to separate, black men from black women, right? While claiming to be pro-black, as a lot of them do. So I'm gonna give you some numbers. She kept saying, "Oh, autism is I got autism, and it's hard, and I was only diagnosed this late within my life, 42, because it's harder to detect autism in black girls than it is with anybody else." She does this thing, like I said, where she will tell you some facts or talk to you or talk to people that she knows know nothing about what she's talking about, and then feeds them false or misleading. I won't say false, but misleading information. Yes, she is right that autism in general, not just within black girls, but within girls in general, it's less often detected. Why? Because boys, black boys and white boys and non-black and white boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls of any race and girls in general. Let me share you some more numbers, all right, to go along with that. 3% of the black youth are diagnosed with autism. That's 3% of the black youth here in the United States, by the way. But as I was saying before, black boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed than all girls. That means 4 times more likely than black girls, 4 times more likely than white girls, 4 times more likely than Latina girls, 4 times more likely than Asian girls. 4 times more likely than any girl that identifies as other in the race category, race and ethnicity category. That's just the boys are very much more likely to be autistic than girls. Now, again, my time of working with people with autism, I've worked with both men, women, and girls and boys. Sure, did I have more male people that I was looking after, that I was, their behavioral therapist? Yes. But I had a handful of girls as well. Now, as far as the black students or black clients, um, again, it wasn't all of my clients, it wasn't all of my students, but it was a sizable amount for me to remember who they are. But these are the numbers, and you can look these numbers yourself as well. So the gender separation thing she kept doing throughout this, and she's been on this thing again where she would, it's not just her, it's other people. Again, I've seen this do this, especially a lot of the supposed pro-black women. They try to separate themselves from black men, when it especially when they do want to talk about racism, because these are the same folks that say black men are the white men of the black community, but then some of the same issues that they suffer at the hands of white men are the same things that happen to black men, if not it's at the same rate, at a slightly worse rate than the black women do. So it's like, how are you going to then say we are the white men of the community in that sense? She is of that elk. She's also of the elk again, where she is Miss Pro Black, but when black men do something, um When a black man does something she doesn't like, it's all of us being thrown under the bus. We're all the issue. When a black man does something to save her life or does something nice for her, she mentions him, but it's not at the same light as, she would, mention a white guy. She brought up the show, I think it's called Bring the Funny or something like that. Let me take another sip. Some shows she was on with Chrissy Teigen, Jeff Foxworthy, and I believe it was someone else. It was a situation to where I think, again, having issues on another show that she was on. It was some backstage issues, I guess, that was happening. And Jeff Foxworthy, for those who don't know who Jeff Foxworthy is, actor, famous white guy. All right. Let me just put it that way. So Jeff Foxworthy defended her. She gave this man a glowing review, Jeff Foxworthy, for stepping in and pretty much defending her. When Kevin Hart, Kevin Hart, the comedian, black man, when Kevin Hart used his influence, because I believe she was on tour somewhere and she was performing somewhere and they wanted to cancel her shows, right? And if they canceled her show, she wouldn't have been paid. And this was during a time where she was with a man at the time who wasn't working, wasn't bringing in no money, didn't want to do anything or whatever, just wanted to live off her money. It seemed that way, at least. So it was a situation to where she said she was in dire need of money. If she didn't do these shows, no money was coming in. She would have been homeless. She would have, probably would have been in debt, or debt would have gotten worse, or whatever the case is. She was like, I don't know what to do. She ended up calling Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart used his power and influence to make sure that she was not losing out on money, and her shows were not, during this festival or whatever it was, I believe, would not get canceled. But I saw how she explained the Foxworthy situation and how she gave him a glowing review. With Kevin Hart, it was so deadpan, man. It was so, yeah, Kevin Hart, yeah, he gave me money, and she kept trying to. Yeah, I'm grateful for Kevin. I'm really grateful. Now, granted, she didn't have to bend over backwards and twerk for Kev, and she didn't have to do backflips or do whatever for Kevin Hart. She didn't have to do any of that. But I'm saying it's like you pro-black types, a lot of them, um, who move like her, y'all be happy as hell when a white man do something. I actually wrote about this or something similar about this, again, with these pro-black types, where they claim to be against, white supremacy, this, that, and the third. And I'm not saying you gotta hate white people, but what I'm saying is a white dude will end up doing something nice for them, and it's the highlight of their life, if not their day. A black man does something nice for you or goes out of his way to do something nice for you, and it's, oh, you're supposed to do that. Oh, I'm not gonna praise you for doing something nice. You seem like a narcissist if you want praise for doing something nice. So it's like you white man does something, he deserves the praise for doing something nice. And all Jeff Foxworthy did, and I'm not saying he did something small, but all Jeff Foxworthy did was pretty much stand up to these people and say, stop being mean to my coworker. Kevin Hart literally stopped an entire festival from canceling her shows. To me, that's much more powerful than just your coworker stepping in. Again, that's no small feat. That's still cool, but that's much bigger than a coworker stepping in and saying, "Stop being mean to my coworker." But yet, that was the thing that made her glow throughout this interview, or one of the moments where she started glowing. The other moments when she clearly was talking about herself. But like that was one of the moments where she just started to glow in this interview was when she wanted to give her praise to Jeff Foxworthy. Great action from Jeff Foxworthy. Shout out to Jeff Foxworthy for that. You know, that was a I'm not downing what he did. But for you, Miss Amanda Seals, Miss Pro Black, Miss Kevin Hart, you and that she wanted to insult his Laugh Out Loud network or whatever the network he's got going on, because I guess she was on there as well, but that ended about 2 years ago. You might not have liked your experience there, but you down this man within complimenting this man. You wanted to shit on his brand. Now she had her reasons as to why she felt like she made her comments, and she's entitled to all of that. But that's just one of those things where I felt like if it's brought up, if the situation is brought up that Kevin Hart got you out of a tough time, that should have been the focus 100% of your comments. Not, yeah, Kevin Hart brought me out of this tough time and I'm grateful for it, but Laugh Out Loud Network really doesn't give a fuck about black creators. Was that was that part of the net? Was that part of I know Shannon Sharp probably brought it up a bit and she probably felt to say that. But I think the bulk of him bringing up Kevin Hart was to bring up the fact that he saved you at one point in your life. He helped you out at one point in your life. And your dull ass, yeah, Kevin, I am so grateful for you. One way to be grateful for Kev for that is to tell him yourself your issues with his network and see if he takes what you say into consideration. Not call it out in this interview and say that shit was, it is what it is. I'm not saying she's wrong for saying what she said or feeling however she felt. I just didn't think that was the appropriate moment. And I'm pretty sure Jeff Foxworthy is not the perfect man. But she didn't take the time out to say, yeah, Jeff Foxworthy, he stood up for me and he used his white manness, that's what she said, to make sure that they weren't giving me a hard time. But also Jeff Foxworthy is, he kind of spits when he talks. You know what I'm saying? Like or sometimes he stinks. Like he doesn't have the best body. He has bad BO. I don't know. Like I'm just making shit up. But what I'm saying is there are probably things about Jeff Foxworthy that, can be um improved upon or whatever the case is. But you didn't take the time when you was praising Jeff Foxworthy to bring that up because that would have been inappropriate. You took that time and moment, and also it wasn't even like brought up. You brought up Jeff Foxworthy, just like how you brought up that you were clinically diagnosed with a autism. You brought up Jeff Foxworthy. No one else brought it up. Shannon Sharp did not bring up Jeff Foxworthy's name. Shannon Sharp didn't say, "Tell me that time when Jeff Foxworthy came to your defense." No, he just asked about the show you was on. You named the cast members, and then you talked about that incident as to why you wasn't on the show and all this other stuff. And it wasn't the Jeff Foxworthy situation. She didn't even detail honestly why she was off the show. There was a lot of situations, by the way. And this is not in my notes, but again, coming to mind after viewing the interview a couple times. There are a number of situations that she didn't make clear as to why the departure happened. You can assume with the Kevin Hart thing, she wasn't liking how things went down, so she left. Okay, you can assume that. She made clear what happened with Insecure, even though that series ended. So it's like not just you left, everybody left because the show no longer exists, or at least it's not a current running series anymore. You know, um, so yeah, those are like one of the very few two reasons she ended up talking. Oh yeah, the whole floor tree thing made that clear. Um And again, there was another situation with a black man who came to her defense. Um, she was saying that Marsha Ambrosia, the one of the uh, lead singers in Floetry, was giving her a hard time. All right, the former member was giving her a hard time as well. All right. If you don't know the backstory, I'm not going to detail you everything. This is stuff you can look up yourself, all up on YouTube, Google, wherever search engine you use, or ask someone else who's familiar with the story. All right. This video is going to go on long enough. I ain't going to go over backstories about every single thing. But I will say there was within this situation here, I believe it was the drummer for Floetry, black man. When they were giving her a hard time, there was one moment where she just bursted out in tears and she was going to leave the group. The dude stopped her and was like, "You can't leave. If you leave, they win. And you have to stand up for yourself. You have to show them that you're strong and you're not no punk ass bitch," pretty much is what he was saying. Right? He didn't use those words verbatim, but I wouldn't be surprised. And these are words of encouragement. Don't be a punk ass bitch. Now you are a punk ass bitch. So that's what I'm saying here. So because of that, she ended up finishing the rest of the tour that she was doing for Floetry. But again, another situation where a black man came to her defense. No glowing review for him, but Jeff Foxworthy, glowing review. So a lot of your pro black types, man, like y'all get on here and y'all talk about how pro black you are, but your actions always show that you could care less about black men, that you really don't care about black men. This whole separation of black men and women when it comes to things and trying to other black men or not even include black men within discussions of race or anything of that nature, that we're supposed to just follow suit or just again making it seem as though we are just benefiting from racism, that everything that white people or white men have, that black men have that as well, or just black men benefit from it as well. When it's just complete false and asinine for anybody to think that, whether you consider yourself pro-black or not. How the hell do you think that is true? Especially coming from an Amanda Seals, but just anybody and people like her. How do you even believe that to be true? When you see the numbers of black men who get railroaded by white supremacy on the fucking daily. How is that any of this shit true? Come on now. Come on. Let's get into the rest because y'all gonna have me speak about some other shit. All right. As I stated before, I'm gonna skip that note, this next point because um that this point was one of the stuff I said at one of the things I said in the beginning. Um, I am gonna make this point. And I don't give a fuck who feels however they feel about it. Shout out Mother's Day is tomorrow, but I'm gonna say this. Her mother was her biggest enabler. I'm gonna say it. Fuck it. She talked about in some of the other moments where she was glowing in this interview was when she talked about her mother. Now, if you love your mom, you're gonna glow when you talk about your mom. You know what I'm saying? It's just whether you're a sociopath like Amanda Seals, whether you're not a sociopath like someone not Amanda Seals, you're gonna talk about you're probably gonna glow when you talk about your mom if you have a loving relationship with your mama. Even sociopaths might have loving relationships with their mom. It is also unfortunate that you're probably a sociopath because it may have been your mom who enabled that within you. Her mom would see it sounds like an enabler. Now, if Amanda Seals get this, this is probably gonna be the worst thing I've ever said, according to Amanda Seals. Why I say that is because there were moments where her mom, again, this is what Amanda is saying. This is how you painted your mom out to be. I don't know your mom. Okay. So I'm not speaking from knowledge. I'm speaking from observations based on how you portrayed your own mom. Okay. But there were moments where Amanda wasn't, she was being difficult. Let's just put it that way. She was being difficult. And instead of her mom responding like how my mom probably would, now my mom was far from perfect, far from it. But my mom was definitely not an enabler either. If myself and my brothers were being difficult in school, she wasn't going to. She wasn't going to hear us out. I'm not even going to say that. She wasn't going to hear us out. But she definitely was not going to instantly jump to, well, my daughter is right, without even hearing what the teacher has to say. Now, granted, she dealt with racist teachers, like she being Amanda Seals, dealt with racist teachers, just like how she dealt with racist students. I'm not going to argue against that, but I find it very hard that, all the times her mom was called was because you had adults, and Shannon Sharp said this as well. Like, adults don't like being corrected by kids or just people younger than them. Again, another truth, but it is not always the case. I, uh, but there were times where, and even with that, that is a custom that does happen. Whether you agree with that or not, I'm not saying it's always right. Well, that's what I mean by this. Not always the case. It's not always right. But nonetheless, her mom, I'm pretty sure her mom knew that as well. Yet her mom still enabled her to talk back, in a sense, to adults. You can teach your child to be expressive, but there's a level of respect that you still have to teach your child as well. And, one of the good things my mom did was she understood, she would tell us that, we had to listen to these adults, these authority figures, essentially. But that doesn't mean we always had to shut our mouths or we always were in the wrong, you know? But when you're in the situation of student teacher, there are times where you just have to shut your damn mouth. Amanda's mother didn't teach her that. Amanda's mother was, oh, there was, I'm going to butcher the quote verbatim, but it was in a sense where a teacher called Amanda's mom and pretty much was like, Miss Seals, or whatever her last name is, if Seals is in her last name, Miss Seals, I'm calling about your daughter because I have an issue with your daughter. And her mom's response was, oh, that's funny because Amanda has issues with you too. Now, does that sound like a mother or does that sound like a best friend or an enabler at the very least? Again, wasn't in the household, didn't grow up with Amanda. I don't want this to be the truth about her mother, but it seemed as though her mother was one of those parents where they believe that raising a child, like they tried to make raising a child, especially a single parent, they try to make it so easy to the point where disciplining that child was not, was not something that they did often because they wanted to make things easier for themselves. And you don't got to be a parent to know that disciplining a child is not easy. Again, as a former educator and stuff, I know that disciplining a child, I didn't whip nobody's kid, trust me, but I meant like disciplining in the sense of not physically disciplining, but even that could be hard for parents, right? But disciplining children, whether they're your own or not, is hard. But boundaries got to be set. Now, I'm not saying that Amanda's mom should excuse the racist teachers. And Amanda's mom should have done, like I said, my mom wouldn't have listened to us meaning myself and my brothers. She wouldn't have listened to us. God rest her soul, but she would everything every adult said that every adult accused us of doing, they were automatically right. So I'm not saying Amanda's mom should have did what my mom should have did. I'm saying that there were times where my mom understood that there has to be a balance of teaching my child respect, but also teaching them and that not every adult gets it right. But that wasn't always the case with her. There were moments to where she that wasn't mostly the case. I'm gonna be honest with you. That wasn't even mostly the case with her. You know, where our teacher would call and complain about us and actually be right. You know, there were times we got in trouble, or at least I can speak for me. I can't speak for them, but there are times I've gotten called on, and like the I remember this one time in high school. I'll give you an example. This was first year of high school, freshman year. And not even no, it wasn't freshman year, it was sophomore year because the principal at the time, she used to go by um Brown, but she had a different that was her former last name because she was going through a divorce. I remember I went to go, we were on our way to class, and my high school was strict. This school don't even exist anymore. Bitch ass school. But nah, I went to, I was on my way to, I believe it was English at the time, right? And I stopped by, there was literally a water fountain next to the classroom that I was going to go into. I stopped by that water fountain to get it, a few sips of water. Because even since high school, your boy was drinking water. So I'm gonna have to refill this bottle soon, but this is the last topic anyway. But yeah, I stopped by and she is telling me and another student to pretty much get in class. So because I didn't move fast enough for her, that principal and I addressed her as Miss Brown. I think that's what got me in trouble because that was her former last name. But I didn't do it to be condescending or to be a troll. I did it because literally this was like the second week of sophomore year, the second week of the school year, and I'm already in trouble. And it's like I've been calling you Miss Brown for a whole damn school year prior to that, and you expect me not to instantly know your new last name or your last name before it was Brown because you expect me to know about this divorce. Like this is crazy. Like I'm supposed to just know your last name. It's kind of like the folks with the pronoun folks who've been living a life as a he or she all their life, and then all of a sudden you know, they say I am no longer going by these pronouns, and expect people tomorrow, like they tell you it today, and they expect you to get it within the next hour, and then by tomorrow, by the next day, they want you to start addressing them by the new pronoun. Like I understand wanting people to respect your identity, but you can't expect people to learn it overnight. You can't expect people to get it in 2 weeks. And in fact, it wasn't like me, and this former administrator, principal, whatever the hell her title was. It wasn't like we had the best relationship to begin with. So it wasn't like I was always constantly going to her about shit. I was trying to avoid her at all costs because we didn't have that best relationship, and that situation made it worse to where I ended up getting suspended. That was that was the first time I've ever gotten suspended, by the way, of any damn school, elementary, middle, and I've gotten fights in middle school and still end up not getting suspended. Ironically, got in a fight in high school, in this high school, and didn't get suspended for it. The one time I got suspended in my life was for calling the principal by her former last name on accident because that was the name that I've known her of for the entire year that I've known this woman until she ends up going. It was announced literally like probably like the second or third day of the first week that, oh yeah, she's going by this last name now, not this name. And I didn't even know the name switch was because of a divorce. it didn't brought it that wasn't brought to my attention. I'm a teenager. I wasn't caring about that shit. I'm just like, oh, maybe maybe like I knew it had something to do with marriage because obviously you know that usually women take the men's last name. So I'm thinking she got married and took his last name, not that she was already married and Brown was not her maiden name. So it was like, yeah, I she said something to me and then I said, "I'm going, Miss Brown." That's what I said. I'm going, Miss. Like, I'm going to the class, Miss Brown. She took offense to that. Like, I didn't see her face, but you know when somebody's like staring a hole through the back of your neck? I didn't see her face initially, right? So I felt like her staring, like I felt that hole through the back of my neck. So then I turn around and I look, and she's got like this deadpan face, like I guess she went from like a mad face, but to seriously quick, just deadpan. So I thought nothing of it, and I continued walking into the classroom. 2 minutes later, yes, 2 minutes later, it was weird that she stood outside the classroom just waiting. 2 minutes. I guess she was waiting for me to somehow get my bags and then walk out and then, get dismissed home. I don't know because all my stuff was either on my person, in my bag, or in my locker. So didn't get why she waited 2 minutes later. But 2 minutes later, she knocks on the door. She she knocks on the door. Don't even wait till the English teacher to come. The English teacher gets up as she's getting up to answer the door. She opens it. Miss Brown. Now I'm calling her Miss Brown the troll. Now the principal. She opens it herself, walks in, and immediately points to me and's like, "Get out." I'm like, what so I'm like, yo, what's going on here? I'm doing my work. I'm looking at the English teacher because I'm like, did you like call the principal on me? Like, what I do, miss? Like, and she's looking back at me like I didn't do anything. Like, what's going on here? Because she's oblivious to it all. And then she's like, get out. And I'm like, okay, all right, like, yo, what fine, like, because she's yelling at this point. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, what am I doing? Everyone is shocked, like, oh my God, Ernest is in trouble. What the hell did he do? No one knows. So the English teacher is trying to calm the class down. And then we get out. And then as soon as we get out, I turn to her and I'm like, what happened? What did I do? She goes, she does this. She doesn't like do it on my face, but she does this. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what am I about to really fight this white woman? Like, and what's going on here? And she's tall too, you know what I'm saying? She wasn't not that I fight women, but she was not short like me, you know? So she does that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm being stopped in my track now. She points, she's like, go to the dean's office or whatever. I'm like, I ask again, what did I do? She does it again. And then I'm like, fine, whatever. I walk to the dean's office. He's like, yeah, you getting sent home. Simple as that. He didn't want to deal with me. I didn't have a best relationship with a lot of the authority figures there. You know what I'm saying? Which was crazy. But he was just like, I'm just gonna send you home. I knew my mom wasn't going like that. But I'm just like, let me call home before I just show up. So that's what I do. But I left a voice message because she didn't answer because she was still asleep. She didn't know I was home until she knew I was home. And I explained to her, listen, this is what happened. I went to go get a sip of water at the water fountain that was literally next to my classroom. I go into the classroom. I'm doing my work. She busts into the classroom. She screams at me to get out the classroom. I try asking her what the problem is. She kept, telling me to shut up. That's how I put it. But she didn't necessarily say shut up, but she kept doing this. And then my mom's reaction was like, for the first, because I thought she was just going to be like, again, from the past, it was always the teacher is always right. She surprised me in this one and was like, yeah, I'm going to figure out what's going on because you did not from the sound of it, you did not do anything wrong. And then when her and that teacher had an actual conversation, not the teacher, but the administrator had an actual conversation. She admitted that she let her emotions get the best of her because of the divorce that she is going through. She had so much resentment for that man who had the Brown last name to where if she heard that last name or someone called her that, she got triggered by it. And she got triggered by um me saying that, but she understood that I wasn't saying it out of malice. It was simply because I was so used to calling her Miss Brown. Because again, I've been calling her Miss Brown for over about a year now, and I'm just learning about this divorce literally the second week of of the new school year. So you got to have some type of understanding about that. From that day going forward, I knew not to address her as Miss Brown, of course, but I mentioned that story just to say that was one of the situations to where my mom really, she had my back, and she wasn't on some, you know, the teacher is always right. And that was a situation where someone, if the adult in that situation was wrong, even if she was trying to tell me and this classmate to get in class so we're not late. But, you know, she was wrong to react that way because, I said, okay, I'm going, Miss Brown, you know? Um, I could have, I could have easily not said anything and just got up and went, but I'm a teenager at the time. I'm going like I heard you the first time. I heard you the first time. I'm just getting some water before I walk into class. I don't see the big deal. But I understand now where it's like I could have handled that better, but she definitely could have handled that a lot better than she did. That's all I'm saying. With these situations here, Amanda claims that she got called, the teacher called her because teacher called her mom simply because she, they were saying that she was being disruptive by correcting them. She was sticking up for other students when they were being bullied. Um, or if it was just to compliment Amanda. Okay. Now there are good and bad reasons why teachers call. Again, I know this for a fact. Um, but at the same time, both as an educator and as a student. But at the same time, when it is those calls that are about a dynamic of teacher student being disrespected, I don't care once again. Well, I do care. I do care if there's respect within it, but I mean if there's, wrongdoing by the adult, but again, there are things that could have been handled better. Because even within the situation where my mom was like, it wasn't you, or it wasn't all the way you, but you could have easily just walked into the classroom without saying her name after she had told you to get into the classroom. That doesn't excuse her reaction to hearing the wrong last name, but you could have handled it better. It sounds like, again, Amanda's mom is not that. It sounds like Amanda's mom was the full on enabler of you can never do anything wrong. You're perfect. And this is how we have Amanda Seals that we have today, someone who thinks they can never do wrong and it is perfect. I don't know how long this has been going on right now, maybe about an hour or so, but I still have some more notes. Um, as I stated, I'm gonna skip over this. She reminds me of me if I was a woman who did not own up to accountability or a person who did not own up to accountability. It's a shame. And I'll leave more of those comments at the end. But it's a damn shame, once again, that Amanda Seals is who she is. Because I feel as though I can actually really get along with her if she was willing to own up to her side of the coin being bad within these bad situations. Simple as that. Next point, I'm gonna read it verbatim and then go into full detail. At the 10-minute and 22, is it 10-minute or 12? Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. So yeah, sorry. But it's at the 10-minute and either 12 or I think it's 12. The 10-minute and 12 mark, 12-second mark, she goes on again claiming to have been recently diagnosed testing. And then I went on about the cost about the testing as well, because she in a later live stream said the reason why she hasn't paid for testing is because she said testing costs tens of thousands of dollars, right? I'm gonna read you numbers, by the way, about how much money it costs for the testing. And I was actually, this was the part where I was gonna play a video. Sorry, this is gonna be long. I'm gonna also leave this video. Um, I should look on my phone rather than online, but or on my laptop, because there's a video of some other podcasters briefly talking about this and their issues with Miss Amanda Seals. All right. Um, let me it was on Twitter. I like the video, but I like a lot of stuff, so it can get it can get lost in the sauce. So I'm doing a bunch of scrolling right now. Um, there we go, found it. Hey, so the video. I'm gonna take off my microphone.
That you get shows up or whatever the case may be.
Hold on. Let me pause the video first. Not take off my microphone, but take off my, let me get off Twitter on the web. I'm gonna take off my headphones because I don't know how it's gonna work with me playing the video on my phone and having these on. It might block out the sound with some tech issues or whatever the case is. But I say all that just to say if you hear some outside noise or hear anything else, because you're gonna hear anything that I can hear without these headphones on. Um, but let me finish my point. It can cost anywhere up to $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the test. Again, this is testing for autism. Okay. At the very low end, by the way, it costs anywhere between $800. I've seen as high in that range, at least in the lower end range, it goes from 800 to 875. So 800 to $875. And that is the lowest amount one can pay for ASD tests. The highest amount I've ever seen was $5,000. So $5,000 is 5,000 is exactly $5,000 less than $10,000. I don't know where the heck she got 10K from, but if she said 10K, that meant that she was going to take this 5K test 2 times. The thing is, she ain't the richest woman in the world, but I know she has at least $800. Like I said, the lowest end for these tests is $800. The second lowest amount that I've seen is $875. The third lowest amount I've seen was $1,000. The fourth lowest amount I've seen was $2,000. The highest amount I've ever seen for an ASD test was $5,000. So anywhere between $800 to $5,000 is as much money as someone could pay to test themselves or test a child for autism spectrum disorder. 10K, where are you getting these numbers from? Once again, she'll say these things, she'll speak half truths, and then people who don't know anything about autism buy it without doing the research themselves because they think they're listening to a professional or someone with the experience when she is neither. She is not a professional within this field. She is not someone who even has it. So, therefore, she is not someone with the experience in this field, or at the very least, like me, someone who is exposed to people who have the experience within the field and also exposed to people who are professionals within this field. She's neither of that. And yet, people buy into this shit. And I have a problem with people buying into it. But she's putting herself out to be, that's her new shtick now. She wants to be the face of autism. How can the face of autism not be autistic? Or at least clinically backed as autistic? You don't want to take the test. You don't want to take the test because then I have it right here again. Where? Come on, come on, come on. Where did I know I wrote it down. I might have to paraphrase myself. Fuck, I feel like I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, I wrote it down before the 800 number. She is not getting the test because she's afraid it'll reveal the truth. That last statement honestly encapsulates her entire MO. She never wants to face the truth about anything because the truth goes against her. She had the nerve to try to Cat Williams herself. There's the truth, and there's what I gotta say. And oftentimes, my side is often on the truth. Baby girl, you lied. You a lie. You a lie. You lied about having autism. You lied on a black man sexually assaulting you, by the way. You lied about some other shit. You lied about the price of, oh, people don't get tested because it costs $10,000. I didn't take the test because it costs $10,000. Really? I'm not saying you balling. You ain't got Jeff Foxworthy money. You ain't got Kevin Hart money. But you mean to tell me all them years you were on Insecure, all them other shows you were on, all them times you, all that, but you're a music performer. You didn't save at least 15,000 of that 10K that you've earned throughout your lifetime, even if it was a 10K test. You don't have that just to prove, to give more evidence to your claim. You claim to be autistic but don't even want to pay for an $800 test. You claim to be autistic but don't want to pay for an $875 test. You claim to be autistic but you don't even have $1,000. I'm not talking to you as in Amanda Seales, not the average American. She's not the average American. And she might not be on the Kevin Hart level as far as fame or fortune, but she definitely is not the average American either. She might want to put on like she the average American, but no, she is not the average American. We're not talking about the Amanda from the block. You know what I'm saying? It ain't Jenny from the block, and it's damn sure not Amanda from the block. We're not talking about Amanda from the block. This is Amanda Seales, a celebrity. Again, not a Jeff Foxworthy type of celebrity, not a Kevin Hart. But damn, she is a celebrity. She's got $800. If you really don't have $800 to pay for this test, that says more about you than it does about how expensive these tests are. And I will say these tests are expensive. You know what I'm saying? Free healthcare is a cry of mine for situations like this. But I don't buy the fact that the reason why she didn't take the test is because it was too expensive to her. Talking about it's $10,000. Like I told you, the highest amount that I've ever seen for a test was $5,000. Half of what she's saying it's about. So unless she wanted to take 2 of those tests, she can't claim it's 10K. No, you can't do that. The reason as to why she doesn't want to take the test because she's afraid the test is going to result in a false claim of autism. People should get in trouble actually for false claiming disabilities. I don't know if that's a I know that is a fact when it comes to work and all that stuff, but I know that's a thing at least when it comes to work. Like if you're claiming disability at work or from your job and you're not really disabled or whatever, whether it be mental or physical, I get that. But this woman literally is breaking the law, I believe, in our faces. And her whole big thing is probably going to be, you're calling for a black woman to get arrested for. No, I'm calling for you, nigga. Not just in all black women. You just happen to be one. I'm calling for you to be dealt with if you are breaking the law by claiming to have a disability you do not have. Get out of here. Don't try that shit. And definitely don't try it with me. But don't try that. I can see her trying that shit. I know her every fucking play. I can see her trying. Oh, if what I say here, which often happens, other people start to comment on it, and therefore it goes viral. Oh, y'all are just trying to get a black woman arrested. No, we trying to get you to stop claiming to have a disability that you do not have, because that is fraudulent behavior. And you wonder why, again, nobody likes you. Who likes a fraud? Who likes a fraud? Who likes a liar? How low do you be? How starved for attention do you have to be? How much of a person do you have a ill soul do you have to claim to be disabled and then say, haha, people don't like me because of my disability. Haha, I am this way because of this disability. That is a disrespect to people with autism, by the way, because everybody that I met with autism is a lovely fucking person. You're not a lovely person. You might look lovely on the outside, but you're not a fucking lovely person, Amanda Seals. Amanda Seals is not a lovely person. And I'm not saying everybody with autism is a lovely person, but everybody I've dealt with and met have been very, very lovely people. And they would never do any of the shit that she does. A lot of them are very self-critical. She claimed to be very self-critical. I highly fucking doubt that. Self-critical people tend to be people who can look at themselves and say, damn, I'm doing something wrong. Oftentimes, yes, self-critical people are very harsh on themselves and they claim and they think that they're doing something wrong by simply being themselves and all this other stuff. Again, speaking from experience. And I'm pretty sure Amanda can attest to that as well. But it is not always the case. This woman does not know anything about accountability. All right. Anyways, we're going to hear from one person in this podcast
I felt
who actually is autistic. The women that you probably just heard. I'm gonna take this. All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Lord have mercy. Nah, let me turn this up. Shout out to Kristen Johnson. But
felt like
oh,
as
stop playing when I don't say to play, nigga. Anyways, um, I'm gonna play this video, and it's two other individuals, so you know that it's not just me that has a problem with this woman. It's other folks as well.
I felt like as a woman who has been diagnosed ASD, which is a full spectrum of things that you can shows up or whatever the case may be, it does not look one way. The way that she was speaking about it to me felt very scapegoatish. And having received the intervention that I have, I felt like even how she's speaking about it.
Let me pause real quick. First of all, hopefully I don't get demonetized because of the song they're playing. They're playing a Tyler song. I fuck with Tyler, but don't demonetize me now. Don't get my podcast shut down. I don't know how y'all got the okay to play the song, but doesn't mean this podcast is okay. But no, I stopped it because the woman brought up the intervention that she got, right? I don't know this woman, but what I am assuming, and I'm probably being an A, but what I am assuming, um, by assuming what she meant by that is she was acting in ways where it was probably off-putting to other people or whatever, or she had to learn because people with ASD have what I was working as a behavioral therapist. So certain behaviors, yeah, it's not a scapegoat. We're not trying to get you to feel bad or feel like a terrible person because you have certain behavioral patterns, but we're trying to get you to see that it's not appropriate to act in certain ways when you have certain feelings, you know? Um, just like appropriate behaviors for lack of better wording. So when she uses the word or she says my intervention, I believe she is talking about just like her her time with her behavioral therapist and like just going over what not to do and what to do. Again, this is someone who actually has taken the test and was resulted with ASD after she took the test. She didn't self-diagnose.
Makes it very clear to me that she has not received that intervention. She has not spoken to a professional about this. She wants to be real in an industry that only requires you to be liked. So everybody has these think pieces on, well, is she wrong? Did she lie? And I'm like, that matters not. You don't. We don't like you. And that's all that matters. And unfortunately, she's unable to come to grips with that. And it just was hard to watch to me.
There's nothing wrong with just saying, I think. There's
Nothing.
nothing wrong with that, right? Because the truth of the matter is, this is why a lot of people probably couldn't get with it. Because we're getting into this space thanks to Donald Trump, where facts don't matter anymore, right? Donald Trump once said the line, I know more than the generals, right? It's a very dangerous place to be when we devalue experts and we devalue the professionals. In that one sentence, he took a small portion of his idiot following back 50 years because they went, you know what? I do trust you more than I trust the media. I do trust you more than I trust the generals. I do trust you more than I trust the doctors. So if you say COVID is fake, then COVID is fake, right? He opened the door to that years ago. And Amanda, I know you probably don't see it this way, but you are kind of walking through that door when you chastise people for wanting you to have been diagnosed by a professional and have an actual, real, hardcore clinical diagnosis before you go out and you tell people that they need to accept the fact that you're diagnosed because you said so. We can't get into this space where the mechanic can't tell us about cars anymore. The doctors can't tell us about the medical profession anymore. The musicians can't tell us about music anymore because we're all experts in whatever the hell we say we experts in. I don't like that.
Shout out to the let me get their name right. It was something couch. The Connors couch. All right, let me put my headphones back in. Hopefully y'all heard that. All right. Hopefully y'all heard that. I believe y'all did because I was looking at the volume and it was going up. But it ain't just me. Literally within that minute and 30 some second clip, under 2 minute clip, it was people saying the exact same things I've been saying here, that exact same thing. Um, and it's feeling is the way that I feel. Like you can't just be on some it is what it is because I said so. That's her entire MO, not just with autism, but with everything, literally everything. When I was bringing about race and stuff, oh, it's she's of that that pro black elk that believe black men just benefit from every single thing white men benefit from, and we don't experience racism to the level black women do, or racism at all, or just anything systematic racism, white supremacy doesn't have its foot on our neck, just as it just as much as it has it on black women's neck, right? They have no evidence to back this up. It is just because I say so. Because they wanted it to be real, so it backs up their claims. No. So it's not just with autism, it's with race, it's with a bunch of other stuff that she has this mentality of. And again, I repeat, this is why people don't like you. This is why I don't like you, amongst the other things. And you continue to be a liar. You continue to be someone who's willing to throw black men under the bus. How, as me, as a black man, you go on and on and on about how you're single, how you want to be in a relationship, but you're single because X, Y, and Z, right? Or you don't know why you're single. What self-respecting black man is going to get with someone who constantly throws black men under the bus, or someone who thinks that black men don't experience racism at the level of black women do? Now, if you're talking about sexism, that's a totally different thing, and I'd be on her side. But that's not what she's saying here when she breaks up her stuff. She's always talking about, oh, black kids, black girls don't get this treatment, black, this don't get this treatment. And I understand sometimes that's true. Sometimes there's again, as I stated before, she does this thing where she sprinkles in a bit of truth with a bit of her propagandist bullshit. Thumbs up. But you know, um, she does that. She does that, and then people get to thinking it's true because they look at the speckle of truth and don't question the rest. They assume, oh, because she part A was true, then part B and C and D and so on and so forth are true. When it's like, no, no, part A is true, but everything else is false. She's lying to you. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just go based off of this one speckle of truth that she sprinkles into all her propaganda and believe that it is true. And you wonder why people don't like you, yo. You know? Now, the last few comments that I have to make are pretty much about the perception of this interview, just like how I talked about it with Cat Williams and all that other, and I believe, yeah, Cat Williams. I did a perception as well, right? Anyways, this interview, I feel as though the reason why I didn't blow up as much as she probably wanted it to blow up as much with the whole Cat Williams interview is two reasons. Number one, nobody likes you. Nobody likes you. People like Cat Williams. You can say he's a liar, but people do like Cat Williams. And therefore they are going to tune into his interview. Whether you believe he lied or not, people like Cat Williams. Nobody likes you. When I say nobody, I mean a lot of people, not enough, not as much many people who like Cat Williams like you. And that's life. They want to say that's okay again, but that's life. That's life. I'm not liked by everybody. Amanda, I know how it is to be in fields where, you're in. I'm trying to get into like the entertainment business, and but as not trying to be famous, I'm just trying to do what I want to do. But I know that's an industry where people have to like you. And you are like the woman said, you are in an industry where you have to be liked and nobody likes you. And that's just what it is. Can people within the entertainment business be not liked by their peers and still navigate? Sure. But is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be um are people going willing to set aside their disliking of you to give you opportunities that you feel like you deserve? No, they're not. This is the entertainment business is not that type of industry. They give people they give people opportunity, the people that they like. And if they don't, they rather give somebody that they don't know. And this is the thing that kind of kills me about a lot of the writers, especially, is we not meaning all of us, but some of us, not meaning me, but some of us um get to complaining, oh, they're not gonna hire a brand new writer that they don't know. True, and for some extent. But let's just say it's you, a nobody writer that they don't know. against a writer they don't know that's been writing within the industry, and they're trying to choose between you and them, you're likely going to get chose because that other writer has a bad reputation, especially within the writer room, not being a team player, whatever the case is. People are probably going to want to take a chance on you. So I said this before and I'll say it again. It doesn't hurt to be a good person. You know, it simply doesn't hurt. Being a good person doesn't mean being a pushover. There's gonna be people that's going that want you to believe those two are synonymous. They're not. You know, they're not the same. But what it doesn't hurt you to be a good person. You know, you can be a good person that nobody knows, and they're willing to take the chance on you. And then once they see that you're actually a good person, you're going to get more opportunities than the asshole who is well known because nobody wants to work with him anymore. It got to the point where people don't want to fuck with Amanda Seals anymore because they didn't have to. Simple as that. And because they didn't have to, they didn't feel the need to include her and stuff and all this other shit. She ends up leaving places on her own fruition. And again, I respect that decision, but then she makes it seem as though that, you know, it's everybody else. And y'all have heard me say this plenty of times on this podcast and just in general. And in conversations I've had with people, I always tell folks it's me, not them. Even though when I tell folks the situation is, they're like, it sounds like it's them, they're the problem. And my response has always been, and this has been something fairly new. This has been something that I started to do once I started to take accountability for my own actions. And taking accountability does not mean, again, taking 100% of the blame. It's taking 100% of how you respond to everything that you encounter. I will say things like, no, sure, what they was doing was foul, but I decided to react in this way. Not once have you heard her in this 3 hour long interview mention it's on me. She's the type of individual I feel as though if you were to ask her what are your flaws, she will say, I love too hard, I'm too trusting. She was pretty much saying that numerous of times in his interview when Shannon Sharp wasn't being condescending and actually was trying to get her to see, because there were moments where he was trying to get her to see the error of her ways, like genuinely trying to get her to see it. And her whole thing is, I'm just too loving and trusting and genuine and real. And people don't like that. It's not everybody, girl. That is not everybody. This thing has gone on long enough. I feel like I've been talking for 2 hours about this thing, or damn near. I don't know how long this thing gonna be. That's crazy. That is crazy. But I still got more to say. All right. So one of the reasons is again, nobody likes her. The other reason is because all of her beef was with black women in Hollywood, Issa Rae being a notable one. But a lot of her problems in life and in general were with black women. And I feel as though, especially the anti-black man brigade of the pro-black movement, quote unquote pro-black movement, they would have been in full support of Amanda Seals had she been beefing with just black men. But as she even detailed in this situation, there were three, as she detailed the number of times men have stood up and for her. Actually, there's three black men. I forget I forget his name, but when I looked him up, he was a black man, right? Um, it was that time when she was denied at the Emmy party. There was a black man who works in within the industry who pretty much got her into the party briefly. He stood up for her. He used his influence to get her into the club, into the party. So you have 3 black men who use their power and influence to either motivate you to continue on your path or to get you into spaces where you were denied or to keep you from being removed from spaces where you were going to get removed from. You had 3 black men do that, and 1 white man does something. And again, I'm going to keep pointing it out. 1 white man does something. Not only does the 1 white man is the only one that gets a glowing review for his actions, but she wants to again continue separating black men, black women. She wants to make herself to be one, not only the face of autism when she is not, she doesn't deserve to be. And just like how this woman that I just played the audio clip of, she said herself she doesn't like the fact that she is trying to put herself as this face of autism. You can be someone, you can be a warrior for autism. You don't have to be autistic to fight for autistic individuals or people with autism or want to spread awareness about it. You can do all of that. I would be 100% behind her on that. But the face of autism, and she can get on. I never said I was the face. I never said I was. No, that's how you acting. We know your move. You want to be the pro black. You want to be the face of autism. You want to be whatever. All of this is just her next move of trying to get out honestly of, because this is going to be a read of Amanda Seales at this point. She is trying to do the thing that many other women in her position that tried to do. Many other women who put themselves in that position of the pro black activists, whatever, right? When they go on and they start praising white men for doing the basic things like saying stop picking on my coworker or you better treat my coworker right, when they go on and do stuff like that, when they go on and dismiss black men for their efforts in making their life easy and just the efforts of black men or their struggles of black men in general, when it comes to racism, the same things that black women face in regards to white supremacy and racism, when they go on to ignore all of that, their next play is, well, I'm just going to get me a white man and I'm just going to behave. I believe when that's one of her plays. I saw this comment online. It's a lot of it on X, not on YouTube, but a lot of it on X, where people said, and I don't know if these are people who are more privy to how she behaves when she gets into these white spaces or not. But I did see these comments a few times, and I thought it was very alarming, or at least, granted, when I say a few times, I've seen it like 3 times, but that was alarming enough from 3 different people, by the way. So it was alarming enough for me to say, okay, let me bring it up here. There are folks that say that Amanda Seales acts differently, even though she was putting on that I'm just being myself and people don't like it. Everybody claims to be themselves at work, but we've seen how people put on their white voices or put on their act at work compared to, you know, when they're around their homies or around other folk, right? And I'm not saying that, these things are wrong, but let's keep it real. You're putting on an act. It's the truth. So if Amanda Seales, when she gets into these white spaces, she was on again on the show with Jeff Foxworthy and Chrissy Teigen and some other white person, right? A white show. If people loved her there, it was like, well, I don't know why people don't like you. You're just such a fun, bubbly, pretty woman. It's because she was being her fun, bubbly self around white folk. And it seems as though when she gets into black spaces, has the opportunity to work with black folks, she gets cringy. Not all the time. Again, as I've stated before, I'm pretty sure there are folks who dislike her because they just simply don't like over opinionated. I hate that term, over opinionated, outspoken individuals, or they don't like people who um like they see something within themselves that is, it's an envy jealousy type thing. I again, not denying that that isn't the case for Amanda Seals. That's not 100% the case, but I'm sure there are a sector of people who dislike her because of those reasons. You know, um, not a large sector, but a sector nonetheless. But it seems as though, and it was she get why I say that is, um, there were times where she said she was in like these black owned spaces, and she it was on Insecure, right? She referred to somebody as a nigga, and he said, "Don't refer to me as that." And it was a black man, and she felt that because that's usually a word we use amongst one another as black folks, but surely that's everyone is not okay with that. I've had black people say, "Don't call me a nigga," or "Don't refer to me as a nigga," and guess what? I respected it. Because whether you're black or not, that word, whether you use it, use it as a form of endearment or not, there are people who are going to say they don't want to be referred to that at that word as that word, or they don't use that word or want it to be used around them. Common decency, whether you are autistic or not, common decency is something anyone could use. You'd be highly upset whether you're autistic or not if someone were to use the word retarded to describe you, or just retarded in general. But you can't seem to see that in the situation to where you, meaning Amanda Seals and her enablers, you can't seem to see that when it comes to that situation where you refer to that man as nigga, even though you were calling him a real nigga or a revolutionary nigga. That's the what you referred to him as, and he took offense to that, and he has every right to take offense to that if he feels that word is offensive. We got to respect pronouns, right? Why can't we respect a black person saying, "Don't call me a nigga"? Whether it's coming from a black person or not. So that was a situation where she could have easily, out of every situation she named, that was a easy, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you in that way. No, she was like, really? How are you black and you consider yourself and you don't want to be called a nigga? Miss Masters in African American Studies or race or whatever the case, you got your masters in that's similar to that. How are you someone that claim to be super educated in that and not understand that the black people aren't a monolith? That not every black person is going to react in a positive way if you call them a real nigga or a revolutionary nigga. She called me any of that, I wouldn't personally take offense to it. But I'm not going to look at the dude or the woman or anybody who does take offense to it and say, "Oh, then you're not a real nigga then." No, I'm going to say, "Okay, I respect it and I won't call you that. I don't think Amanda should call you that. I don't think anybody should call you that. We should all respect you because you don't want to be referred to as a nigga." It's really that simple. And if I were to do it to somebody and they were like, "Hey, don't call me that," I will apologize as I've done in the past. It's really not hard. Apologize and then you correct that behavior by not doing it again. Her, it's, "Oh no, I he just had an attitude with me." Again, and I ask y'all, and I'm gonna keep asking y'all, how the hell how the hell does she not know why people dislike her, behave in this way? You called someone something. They said, don't call me that. And you take offense as if you were called something you don't want to be referred to as. What kind of narcissistic shit is that? What kind of gaslighting shit is that? What kind of shit is that? Like, honestly, really, that's exactly what she did. So, yeah, like, as I was saying, I got sideswiped, but as I was saying, the reason as to why this interview didn't blow up like the Cat Williams interview did is number one, no one likes her. So it wasn't a lot of people defending her. And the people who are defending her are fucking idiots. Yeah, I'm just going to flat out say, y'all been fooled. Y'all got bamboozled by her. I think it was a lot of folk who didn't know about Amanda Seales, but was hearing things here and there, and they wanted to see for themselves. So they saw this interview and they gave her a chance, and now they feel as though they got to say something positive, especially that she got them fooled thinking that she has autism when she fucking doesn't. And if she does, it's not clinically proven. So you can't claim to be clinically proven for anything if you haven't been tested for it. Go out in the world and claim to have cancer and you never got tested for cancer. Go out in the world and claim to be blind and you never got the legal documents or tested that prove that you're fucking blind. Claim any disability at all, physical or mental disability, and claim you have that and not actually have it. See how people are going to view you as an individual. It's bananas that this woman really thinks it's hard to fathom why people don't like her when she does things like this. I'm gonna need the parents, by the way, the people who are hitting her up and thanking her for being the voice or face of autism to stop it. I understand you're probably coming from an emotional state. You saw someone that maybe can your child can look up to, but like I was saying before, let's not raise Amanda Seales. Let's not inflate this woman's ego. She got some fucking serious problems, mental problems for sure. And my educated slash uneducated guess is it's NPD, not ASD, which again, NPD being narcissistic personality disorder. Sure, only 5% of Americans have it, but I think she's one of the untreated individuals that needs to be tested for. If it's not that, at the very least, it might be a level of sociopath, being a sociopath. We all have slight levels of narcissism, sociopath, being sociopathic, and other of these things as well. Not super high alarming numbers, by the way, but we all as human beings have a certain level of all this stuff. So it's not like it would be too far fetched for uh Amanda to have a slightly higher level of these things, even if it's not high enough to put her within that 5% category. But nonetheless, ASD is not what she has, or at least I really, really don't think that's what she has. I could be wrong, but even if she actually gets tested, as I'm asking her to do, and this is why I wish I was like a super rich celebrity because she ain't gonna listen to me, especially a black man that's not kissing her ass, or a black man that's not hating on other black men or whatever, or a black man that's not Jeff Foxworthy because he's not a black man. But you know, if I was super rich, the only way that would be probably the only way she listened to me. But I would honestly be like, Amanda, I would give you $10,000 and it doesn't even take 10K. I'll give you $10,000. You can use that 10,000 to take the 5K test twice, or take it once and then have and use the other 5K for yourself or whatever, or even use 800 of that 10K and then use the rest for yourself. But I'll straight up be like, Amanda, I don't believe you at all. So I am going to pay for your ASD test. I'm not gonna say that shit now, but I would if I was rich. I would be like, hey, I'd pay for your ASD test. If you are confident that this is something you have, you would have no problem in doing so. It is no excuse for your behavior. But again, you can at least go around claiming to be autistic when you're not. You can at least go around claiming to be autistic if it is proven that you are. Last thing before I go, I didn't watch the Gary Owens interview, but I did see the introduction. If she hasn't already said this, trust and believe this is what she is going to say. This is the narrative she is going with right now. Gary Owens is a white man. We know this. All right. I don't fuck with Gary Owens. I don't give a damn about him. I'm not watching his Shannon Sharp interview. Shannon Sharp, black man, clearly. When he introduced himself and said, "Hi, I'm autistic," and then pretty much made fun of Amanda Seals. I can see her going in the route of, look, see, this is why I separate black women from black men. Because look, there's this white man and this black man laughing at me, laughing at a black woman and her disability. And this is why white supremacy only affects black women. And then I see motherfuckers eating that shit up too. Once again, I wish he didn't do that, he being Gary Owens, because that's going to be the cringeworthy argument that they go around spreading. The weirdos and just the downright ingrained, stupid MFers out there. But that is now, no. I'm gonna nip that in the bud right now. This has gone on long enough, but I'm gonna nip that in the bud right now. Once again, Amanda, if you are claiming to have a disability you don't have, and that's against the law, you deserve to be punished for that. Simple as that. And I'm not trying to get a black women or just black women in general in trouble with the law. I'm trying to get you in trouble with the law. Because if it was a white woman doing that, we would be calling for her to be in trouble. I'm not surprised because Amanda Seals is the same woman when she was on The View saying that what Jussie Smollett did was all right because it brought awareness. It brought awareness to hate crimes. Even though he lied about being a victim of hate crime. When there are real life examples of this stuff, that brings awareness already. There are real people with autism who already bring awareness. There are people without autism who bring awareness about it. So you don't have to have it. You don't have to lie about these situations to bring awareness to anything at all. You don't have to be someone who has breast cancer to bring awareness about breast cancer. You don't have to be someone diabetic to bring awareness about diabetes. You don't have to be someone who has been sexually assaulted to bring a awareness to sexual abuse, sexual assault, sex trafficking. You don't have to be someone who can personally identify with these things to bring awareness to these things. Amanda Seals, you know this. You're old enough, you know this. You're smart enough, you know this. So stop with the lies. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Stop with the lies. All them people who be lying to you, they don't love you. Stop with the lies. I don't like you. But I don't want to see you continue going down this path of being a fucking pathological liar. Simple as that. Anyways, this has been another long ass episode of the Earnest Thoughts podcast. But I got everything that I had to say off my chest, so I feel good. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this day. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day too. Thank you for listening to this podcast, whether you listen to all of it or part of it. Thank you. Whether you even made it to this part or not, thank you. Timestamps in the description box below, per usual, for the audio listeners. And check out the other links, being my blog, being my latest ebook, being anything else that is down there as well. And yeah, reach out to me. Instagram is where you can find me. I'm keeping the Instagram up only for like contact purposes. I get bored of doing audiogram shit, to be honest with you. Um, but I'll keep the Instagram up for contact purposes only. So if you want to contact me, your best bet is, or one of your best bets is Instagram. If you don't have me on any other social or whatever the case is, you can send a voice message as well. If you want to reach out elsewhere, just your second best bet, or I would say the best bet would be to comment on YouTube, and I will make sure we can reach out elsewhere if Instagram is not where you want to reach out. All right. Speaking of the YouTube channel, again, thank you for the subscribers and watchers of these videos for the podcast. Really appreciate that as well. If you want to check out the audio version of these episodes, you can do so by clicking the link in the description box below of the YouTube channel, of the YouTube videos. And you will find where you can find my podcast, Ernest Thoughts Podcast, on all the streaming platforms down there as well. So pick your choosing, subscribe on all of them if you want. That'd be great. Listen on all of them if you want. That would be great as well. But whatever you want to do, if you want to support that way, that is greatly appreciative as well. My latest ebook is down there as well. Support my author dreams, my writer goals. I will be having something coming out within the next month as well. So be on the lookout for that. More on that in the coming weeks. And yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Donation links down there as well. Um, please help out financially if you want to, if you feel compelled to do so. But a simple share, like, subscribe the podcast, wherever that may be, is greatly appreciated. All right. Stay black if you are black. Stay beautiful. Black lives matter. LGBTQIA plus lives matter. Black women matter. Black men matter, because over here we ain't separating the two. When I struggle, she struggles. When she struggles, I struggle. And black children matter, and you matter too. And I'm out. Peace.